Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Reviewing Comics with me, your host, Alexander Turbin. Today we're going to be doing something a little different. I'm not going to be going over somebody else's work. I'm going to be going over my own. Not so much a review, as more just an analysis of what I was thinking about and what kind of influenced me on doing the Sireen the Cleric books. So I wanted to do something special for the cover. I had done this for the Forlorn, not for the Forlorn, for Random Access, for Random Access #1, and it was also Random Access 12 or 13 or something like that. So I've reused this cover a few times, and I didn't want to do that for Sireen the Cleric because I wanted something new and something different, and I was really into trying to do watercolors and stuff like that, and watercolors probably is just not my medium, or I'm just not really willing to put the time in and dedication in to become proficient at it, which is probably more likely because I think each time you do a piece of something in a new art type setting or whatever, that you get better at it. Like I've learned a lot on the digital coloring. I think it's much better than when I very first started coloring. But so yeah, these are the two different covers. If you've actually gotten any Sireens, this is the old cover. This is the new cover. I'm probably going to discontinue this, or I'll have on the website choose a cover, A or B. So you can get these at alexanderturbin.com. Pretty much that's the only place you can get them. That's not true. People barter and trade and stuff all the time at cons and stuff. So let me know which cover you like better. I personally think this is one of my favorite pieces of work I've ever done. I really love the characters and the posture and everything like that. So this is what I'm really liking. But just let me know. I really enjoy your guys' comments and stuff. So Sireen the Cleric. So Sireen was actually a book and a character. I was really into Frank Frazetta, which I love Frank Frazetta now anyway. But I was really into watching Fire and Ice. I've watched that like many times since then. And I really wanted to capture some of the physicality and the just the bodies and of Frank Frazetta style, I guess. And I kind of wanted I just kind of wanted that natural form factor to be into something that I was going to do next. Also, I wanted to do something that was fantasy. I wanted a sword and sorcery fantasy, which a lot of you know that I'm really that's my favorite genre to draw, and that's probably what I'm best at. And so I really wanted to do a fantasy sword and sorcery. I was thinking of doing like a Conan type character, and I was just like, man, there's already Conan, and I mean, there's Crom, which I didn't know about Crom at the time. But I just didn't want to kind of overdo something that's already out there and it's already been done. And there's plenty of iterations of male barbarian characters. So I just wanted something a little different. And whenever I play a character, like I said in the last episode when I was reviewing Empire Lanes, whenever I play a character in D&D, it's usually a cleric. It's some sort of healing. So I really am into that genre of character, but I wanted it in that sword and sorcery setting. This is a little bit more fantasy because really I love sword and sorcery, but I really love elves and dwarves and stuff like that too, and the evil creatures that go along with that. So I wanted her to be a cleric. But I also wanted her to be something that could change, like Conan the Barbarian. Can change to Conan the King or Conan the Reaver or whatever. And during this run, Sireen is going to change her title many times because one of the big themes in Sireen is religion and having faith in something. And so she's going to go through a lot of conundrums with her religion and her faith. And I feel like that's just like a big part of the book because I'm an atheist and I don't believe in God because there just haven't been any facts. But there's a whole why there's faith and believing something higher than yourself. It's almost like believing in America or believing in something that is just bigger than yourself, and you want to kind of, have a part of that. Because when it breaks down to it, like, we live and we die, and you can either go through your life just thinking of yourself and not really caring about anything bigger, or you can, there's lots of actually different facets of that, where you could go the other way and you can just latch on to some sort of religion or whatever, and it can just be like, um, it can just be overwhelming for you and for the people that know you. And it's just, I don't know, it's a whole thing. And that's kind of what I wanted to explore in Sireen. Anybody that's read any of my comics and really has been paying attention is that almost all of my comics have some sort of theme. Death Knights is about change and death, obviously, but it's more about change and going from one aspect to another, and it's kind of about exploring evil and good versus bad and stuff like that. So almost all of my works have some sort of underlying theme if you check into it. So that's kind of what Sireen is. She's a little bit of a barbarian-ish cleric who, it's about religion and faith. So let's get into the story, and I'll kind of backtrack and talk about the things that I was thinking about while I was doing it. So Sireen, I've been talking to Leonardo, and we're going to be working on a book, and he was talking about his book that he did, The Six Sounds, and how he started it just like George Lucas did Star Wars, where it kind of starts in the middle of the adventure instead of the beginning or end or just anything like that. So that's kind of what I wanted to do. I wanted to start the adventure in the middle of what's happening, and then kind of maybe go on from there and have it be somewhat of a mystery of kind of why things are happening the way they are happening. And so we have these characters up above a waterfall. I hope this is all self-explanatory, because so much of my comics is not, there aren't like a lot of exposition saying high atop a waterfall or something like that. Hopefully my art will be able to tell you that that's what's happening. And let me know if you think that it could have used a little bit more exposition, telling people what's what. Because one of the biggest things that I really try to avoid, and it's really a razor thin knife as to whether you're over explaining to the audience what's happening, or you're talking up or down to them and just hoping that they can follow you and what you're doing. So I didn't want to lose the audience, but at the same time, I didn't think I had to explain what was going on here. And so there's I'll read some of it. "You were once my most trusted priestess, like a sister to me. How could you betray me?" So it's kind of already starting off that she's done some sort of bad thing. And I hope that you catch on that she's some sort of queen or something like that. And well, actually, she says that she's my queen. I have no words. So that she's the queen, and she's punishing Sireen for something she did, something horrible, and it still hasn't come out yet. And this is there's like 3 or 4 or 5 issues. Actually, I think there's 5 issues of Sireen worth of material, because all of this stuff is in random access. Every 3rd issue of random access is a Sireen the Cleric story, and so I bundled them all together, and this is like the 1st and 4th story combined into Sireen the Cleric. So if you get random access 1 and 4, you're going to get Sireen. So again, I was really trying to go for this as much as I could. Frank Frazetta really kind of her body and the physicality of the characters. But also, I'm a huge fan of Clive Barker's work and Hellraiser and stuff. So when you look this character whose eyes are kind of sewn shut and his mouth is sewn shut, that is kind of a riff on him being like a eunuch protecting the queen. Instead of being a eunuch, they have kind of their eyes and their mouth blocked off. I don't think their eyes are sewn shut and their mouth is sewn shut, as more as they're just kind of blocked off. So I was really kind of trying to combine the characteristics of a Clive Barker-y Hellraiser kind of thing with there. And so again, I wanted the sensualness. If anybody knows or is into good girl work, could you please let me know if Sireen is good girl? Because that's a genre that I'm just kind of dipping my toe into. I always thought that good girl was like non-sexual, non-sensual, but after reading FemForce or the FemForce Halloween special or whatever it was, I'm realizing that there is more of a sexuality and a sensuality with excuse me, with Good Girl than I previously thought. So I wanted to have the queen punishing Sireen, and she's got this sister. So Sireen and the sister were doing something that betrayed the queen, and we don't know what that is, and we actually won't know for quite a while because there's a whole lot of storyline to be said and done before we find anything out by that, because she's as we know in the next few pages, she's banished out of their kingdom, out of their village. I'm not entirely sure how big their village is. I don't think it's huge because, like I said, I wanted this to be a little sword and sorcery thing where the villages and the towns and stuff, they're not huge. They're not giant cities except for a very few exceptions. So the guard is told by the queen to do her duty and push Sireen off over the edge of the waterfall, and she says, "May Dorana forgive you." Dorana, as well as all of my other works, she's a goddess, and Sireen is the high priestess of Dorana, so she has a special connection with the goddess, and so all of my works are formulated with a basis of old gods and newer dragon gods. So the old gods are very kind of Cthulhu-ish, but it's a little bit more variety. There's more good ones and there's more ambivalent ones and there's more evil ones. And then they kind of die off, and then the new gods are dragons, and the dragons are just kind of spirits that are everywhere. So Sireen is cast out of her village, and this is where you see that being a high priestess of Dorana, she actually can use her faith and her magic and her clericness to kind of protect herself from being crushed by the waves, which you knew that the queen knew that was going to happen. I'm thinking that there's some sort of relationship between Sireen and the queen. I'm not going to say she's a lesbian or bi or anything like that. Maybe they're sisters. It's too early to really kind of talk about that. But Sireen's cast aside, and she kind of makes her way up to the top of the river. And the queen says, "Do not return, Sireen. You'll be put to death, my friend." So Sireen is very, very upset that this has happened, and she's been cast aside by her village and her people. And she says, "I'll return, my queen, but only when I've corrected what I've done." So she knows what she's done. She knows that she kind of has to atone for the stuff that she's done, kind of like Jorah in Game of Thrones, where he betrayed Daenerys, but he earned her respect back and her admiration back and stuff. So she's cast aside, and very much like Fire and Ice, which I had been watching, there's these creatures that are kind of chasing and attacking the female character, and she's kind of a little bit helpless. Even though she's done her magical powers and used her magical powers and stuff to save herself, so they're kind of attacking her, and they're just kind of these mindless creatures or so you think so far, that are after her. And they eventually catch her, and they're going to bring her to some sort of a temple. And if anyone else has been paying attention and has been reading any of the random access stuff, this writing here is also from one of the gods that I've already shown in one of the comics, in actually Symborgs. It's a crossover between Symborgs, Queller, and the Death Knights, and I haven't finished it yet. I still have only done that first part in Random Access number 11 or 12. And anyway, it's the same language as that god, so all of these things kind of tie together. And Sireen, she's finally had enough. She's going to fight back, and she's not going to be fish food. And this is when the next character comes in, and really, it's going to be a group book where Sireen is maybe the leader, or she's the main character, but she, just like Conan, it's not just Conan wandering through the wastelands or whatever. It's Conan and all of his cohorts and all of his women that he's come in contact with and stuff. So Sireen is basically going to be the same thing, where she comes across, enemies and friends, and they kind of maybe interact together. And this is the Red Knight, and he is, as somebody said before, he is very influenced by the knight, the armor of Dracula with Gary Oldman, because I think that is probably the best 10-15 minutes opening of a movie, other than Star Trek, the remake that J.J. Abrams did. I love that 10 or 15 minutes intro opening of Star Trek. But I love the Gary Oldman, and he's just freaking out, and that's when he becomes Dracula and stuff like that. So this character comes in, he saves her, comes out of nowhere. They fight off the fish people, and they just kind of decide she's got nowhere else to go. She's decided to just go and travel with him. So he's very knightly, and he wants to protect her. And so that's the very first character that we kind of meet on the road. So this was the first 12 pages of Random Access number 13, I think, or number 1, volume 2, number 1. So this is part 2. I hope it goes seamlessly, and that you realize that they went onto a cliff and they're just kind of looking around, kind of surveying their surroundings. And she's talking about night flyers. Night flyers are creatures that obviously fly at night and attack people. And so they're kind of looking around, and this creature comes upon them, and he says, or she says, a Rancliffe. I think she says it. I'm pretty sure she says it. I wrote it. Wrote the damn thing. She says it. So because he doesn't really know. We don't know why he doesn't know a lot of things about this world, and she knows more about it. But he is kind of a catalyst for her explaining things. So he's a story vehicle in a lot of senses of the word, because he's going to be explained things that the reader won't know, and also it's integral to the story that he doesn't know these things. So they run from the Rancliffe, which is a giant dragon, and it's just kind of attacking them, and it's grabbing them by its hands, and flying off with them to supposedly its nest or whatever. And so she finally uses her powers instead of for defensive purposes, and she uses them for attacking. And again, the goddess light, she's using her faith to protect her, and the Rancliffe drops them, and they fall through this into the woods, and they hit every tree down, every ugly branch that they can find, and they just kind of lay there, and this hopefully broke their fall. And so they realize that they're in a new place, a new era, because the Rancliffe flew them. They don't exactly know where, but it's a little bit colder, I'm assuming, because there's birch trees, and birch trees mean coldness. And so there's all kinds of different trees. Obviously, there's fir trees and stuff like that, even in the very beginning, because I do my funky fir trees, as you know. So they get up and they kind of just discuss, and you find out that his name is Adrian, and they kind of just have this little back and forth banter, and they don't really know anything about each other, so they're just kind of getting their feet wet with actually learning a little bit about each other, since they're going to be walking with each other. And this is where it ends, where they come to this tower. I love drawing towers. It's just kind of a weird thing that I like to do. The perspective might be a little bit off, where it's top perspective and then side perspective. But I kind of wanted to mix it up a little bit. And just the fact that there's these crazy vines all around it, I was thinking that it's just kind of more of a magical house that's out in the woods, and you don't really know what could be coming out. And then somebody opens the door, and he says, "You better get in it. Better get in. They are about to awaken." I wanted it to leave it as a cliffhanger, because I love leaving my books as cliffhangers, and this is how it ends on book 1 of Sireen the Cleric. So yeah, a little bit of stuff. I was doing a lot of marker stuff. I believe the characters are all marker, and I can't remember when I decided to go fully digital, but this is a combination of marker and digital work. I'm pretty sure that the characters are marker, and the backgrounds are digital. I had a lot to learn about doing digital versus marker stuff. I really wanted to do the markers because I was really having a hard time with inks and watercolors and stuff, because when you have a big area in your background, I was just really not liking the look of where it's not one solid color. I know that people say you shouldn't have one solid color. It should have a little bit of variety. But when you intend for something to be a solid color and you can't get that aspect, then then you have to do something a little differently. I tried a lot of different techniques. There's a lot of different watercolor techniques, and I just could not get the solid one color shade that I really enjoyed and wanted to have. So using the digital coloring, really, that was a huge benefit to me, and that was one of the things that I really wanted to have happen in my artwork. So yeah, and I was doing a little bit more detail in these drawings, because they were originally in black and white. And when I was doing only stuff for black and white, I put in as much detail as I could for the allotted time for a monthly book. And but once I realized that I was going to be coloring things, I kind of came to this realization that why have all of these different shading and shadowing techniques if I'm just going to kind of cover it up with these different shading and shadowing colors. But I like to do a little bit of detail on the Radcliffe and on the characters and stuff like that. So hopefully I didn't get rid of too much detail, because it's a balance when you're doing something in color. How much detail, how much shading, how much shadows and stuff like that to put in, if you're going to just be doing the shading and shadowing with color. Like I did the shadows with some of the branches and stuff, but I also knew that I was going to be using different greens to make the light sources for the tree branches. So I kind of had to come up with a combination of different things I was doing. So yeah. This is Sireen, the Cleric, number 1, and there's number 2 is out, and hopefully I can get number 3 and 4 and 5 out relatively soon, because I haven't had a Sireen out in a while. Number 2, nope, I don't have it. Yeah, so hopefully I'll be able to get these out pretty soon. And I really like having them collected in their own individual comics more than just being in random access, because that's kind of the whole point of random access, is to push me to create work on a regular schedule, and then I can package things up as their own books themselves. So let me know what you guys think about Sireen the Cleric, and most importantly, is she good girl? Do I have to do something differently to make it good girl? Do I have to make it less sexual, more sexual? Something like that. So anybody that's really into the good girl stuff, please let me know, and I'd really appreciate it. And also, just if you guys have any kind of comments, whether you think I need more detail in something, or need more blacks, or the color work, or any kind of suggestions or comments, is always greatly appreciated. And yeah, so there you go, Sireen the Cleric #1, and she's in random access, and she's in the next number 25 of random access, which is coming out next month. Actually, this month, end of November, will be Sireen the Cleric #25, or actually, random access #25. So please let me know what you guys think, and I give this a 10 out of 10. Just kidding. I don't know what I would review it. I'll save that for somebody else who's not so emotionally invested in it. Thanks for watching, and if you like this kind of content, please consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell, and also giving me a thumbs up. I'd always appreciate a thumbs up. And thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next time, and keep on creating.